Welcome to AI Adaptive. Here we break down AI with tips, tricks, insights, and tutorials, making it easier for you to stay ahead. Our motto is AI Simplified. Learn, adapt, and thrive. Now let's get started.
Welcome back to iAdaptive. This is the first episode of our week in review, a recap of what's happened in AI. And this week has been very, very busy. We've seen a lot of news come out from Claude, which is an AI that hopefully you've tried and used. A ton of news come out of OpenAI. Google released their Gemini update that was a major update as well. And then there's been some other science news outside as well that's pretty impressive. So let's jump right in. So I did cover this in tips and tricks, but Claude has been updated with web browsing. So if we say, and I gave this example, but who is the Secretary of State, right? If we look, the response says it's from October 2024, sorry, and it's now March 2025. So let's say this. That response is from the training data. Okay, so from the training data. Let's now ask search who is the Secretary of State. Now let's see. There it goes out to the web and pulls back the Secretary of State. So that's a very powerful feature. They've just added it, and trust me, they're going to get this to where it does that by default instead of you having to say search. But as we can see now, it has the current information because it went out on the web and found that. So that's a big update. They also made another update. So Claude does what's called thinking. So Claude has been a non-thinking model. So you have for ChatGPT-4.0, which is a non-thinking model, and then you have 01 or 03 mini, which are thinking models. Thinking models do exactly what they think and then they act, versus ChatGPT-4.0, for instance, goes out and grabs. It's been updated too this week, so I'll give you a little plug that a little bit early here. But Claude was in that non-thinking. It actually has a mode now that you can go into for thinking, but it does it by default. It's built in, so it's kind of what's called a hybrid model. So when you search now, Claude is actually going to go, oh, is this something that I need to think about as it starts to respond? And if it does, then it'll think on it and then improve the response and then give it back to you. And it's done by default. You don't have to choose a model to do it. And that's in the 3.7 Sonnet, I should say, the default model when you come over to Claude AI.ai. So that model has included now some thinking or reasoning in it, which is another big update. So that's really the Claude news. Again, try it out. Claude's a great model. I highly recommend it. I love the way that it writes. I like to compare it back and forth with ChatGPT. Let's jump into other news here. Google Gemini. You may not have heard of Gemini, but it is their ChatGPT. They released 2.5 Pro, and it crushed these benchmarks that are, I'm not going to go through all of them with you because probably bore you to tears. But essentially, this shows like 03 Mini, ChatGPT 4.5, Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and Grok, which is X's Elon Musk company. And the DeepSeek is the one that got a ton of press. I think it's a model out of China. It shows how it compares. And if you look, it absolutely is an amazing update that they put out, and arguably the best update right now. So if we look at across the board, almost 100% across the board, live code bench not quite as well, but almost everywhere else is doing significantly better. One of the really other unique things about Gemini 2.5 Pro is it has you have a token window. That's what you can send to the model for it to as a prompt and evaluate it. Its token model is 1 million tokens. Massive, massive model, which means you can send large amounts of audio or video in there for it to evaluate and then come back and say, hey, give me the transcript, or give, basically a lot of different things that you could do with ask questions about it, give me an overview of the video, all these type of things. It has all kinds of potential for those type of applications, which are pretty high-end applications, granted, but still, it's a massive context window. So that's Gemini 2.5 Pro. You can check that out by going to aistudio.google.com. Here it is. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to want to select this 2.5 Pro experimental. When you do that, you can come over here and type in anything you want to test it out. It's really good at coding. If somebody out there happens to be a coder, a developer, it's really good at coding, so I highly recommend trying it out on that. If we come over here, we've got some news. Love it. New news. Try to say that 5 times fast. Out of ChatGPT. They updated 4.0 in response. Funny, they did this a few hours after Gemini, or within 24 hours, I should say, after the release of Gemini 2.5 Pro. Competition? Yep, absolutely. They've improved it with smarter problem solving in STEM and coding, enhanced instruction following and formatting accuracy, and then fuzzy improvements. It better understand the implied intent behind their prompts. It got in what's called the LM Arena, which is a place where people, when you test a prompt, you get 2 responses side by side, blind. You don't know which model is which. You say which one you like better. It went to the top of that test, over the top of 2.5 Pro, barely, just a little bit above. In coding, for instance, it's barely above, but it is. So this is a non-thinking model. That's pretty impressive. And this is a great update because most of you out there just use what's default on ChatGPT, and that's going to be the 4.0 model. And you're going to get this by default. And I think you'll notice, if you pay attention, you'll notice much better responses. I did. I used some prompting without even knowing that they released it, and was shocked that it was getting accurate returns on prompts that it used to get wrong. And then I had to go out and look, and oh, yes, they did release an update. So anyway, ChatGPT 4.0 has been improved, and most of you will see that. This is one of the biggest news stories of this week, is the release of ChatGPT 4.0 has image generation in it now. And this model is fantastic. It's really, really good. It's the best model, in my opinion, out there right now. Maybe not for everything. Listen, those of you who are designers, or graphic designers, using Midjourney and Imagine and all these other different models that are out there, might say, oh, this one's a little bit better here and there. I'm just saying, for the average user, and also especially for text and for follow-up editing, it's been absolutely fantastic. So let's take a look at that. There was, right here. No, sorry. Let's go ahead and take a look at, let me open this real quick. OpenAI image creation, because this gives a really good review. So here's the prompt they put in. It's a long prompt. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. Essentially, they wanted somebody writing on a whiteboard with text, and they're very specific on what they wanted in there. And they wanted the Golden Gate Bridge in the background and a reflection. And look at this. It took that text that they specified, matched it up, and output it with this in the background. And they also specified that the photographer was in the background. And it nailed it. And you can take this prompt and go paste it in. Other people I've seen do it. May not look exactly like this, but and they actually specified to have the OpenAI logo on the back. And it came out as pretty much as expected, and really accurately. Then they said selfie view of the photographer as she turns around to give a high five. There you go, and you still have exactly the same image. This is where I'm talking about where you can edit it iteratively, and they made this edit, and there's the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. Really, really impressive. So we'll come down. Here's some character consistency, and that's what it's saying, is look at how one to another as they iterate, it kept the consistency. That's been a big problem. Midjourney, which I love as well, has had a tough time of through edits keeping that consistency. It's improved. I'm not trying to say, for those there's people who are just fanatical about Midjourney, which is awesome. I'm just saying it has improved. They gave this prompt of this sign with witches, which came out pretty good. This menu is really cool. Traditional concept of the menu, blah, 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 blah. They're very specific on what they wanted. Look at all this information they specified. And you get that right here. Very impressive. So you can do, as I talked about so I did a video, and you'll see the link at the end of this video, but I did a video on my tips and tricks on image creation. And, that was one of the things I showed as you iterate through just how well it continues to do with that. Here's an invitation, same thing. They provided all the information. So I talked about in that video doing product concepts, advertising and marketing, collateral, social media, YouTube, if you need to make your YouTube thumbnails that are the default, how important that is if you put YouTube videos up. This is a great way to do it. It's going to get better and better as it goes along. Now here's a great example where they uploaded an initial cat photo. Then they said give it a detective hat and monocle, and look at how realistic that is. And then they said, basically specified a bunch of other information that they wanted to have on there too. And now they have it on a street. Notice how the consistency is being carried through, and that's what's really impressive. And here we have it on it looking like a video game, essentially, which is very impressive. I'm not going to go through all the rest of these. You get the gist. You can come over here, just search for OpenAI image generation. It'll come up, and you can take a look for yourself. Let's jump over here. This one is a little bit interesting in that OpenAI adopted Anthropic, which is the company that owns Claude AI, and a competitor to them. They came out with a protocol called Model Context Protocol. I know many of you are not technical people. That's okay. It's a very important, this is a huge announcement where Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, says they are going to support MCP, Model Context Protocol. So what does that mean for you? Well, it's a big deal. So remember, these images, these models, ChatGPT and Claude, they have to connect. For them to have any power other than just writing answers to questions or essays or research papers, to be able to do anything outside of that, they need to have access to tools. So this is what that does. The MCP protocol provides access to tools. So the way I would phrase it is like this. Up until now, these models have been on a dead-end street where they don't have anywhere to go besides that street. Okay, so they're in a cul-de-sac. It's really cool. They can write poems and write articles and write blogs and answer questions and do all these type of things, but they can't really go anywhere outside of that street. So that's the street, right? We're talking text information, image generation, but they can't interact with the outside world. They can't interact with our computer and look at our files. They can't go over, they can search the web a little bit, but they can't literally go over and interact with any of our tools, our CRMs, our databases, any of this type of stuff that we use on a daily basis. Well, that's what Model Context Protocol, MCP, does. It defines a way to do that. So think about MCP like an interstate for ChatGPT and Claude, that they're going to be able to go so much faster and do so much more, get so much further, right? So it's like defining that infrastructure that will allow them to be able to now interact with our tools. It won't happen tomorrow, but you're going to see this over the course of this year. It is going to explode. We're going to see all kinds of examples of agents where ChatGPT and Claude are able to utilize MCP, and other agents are able to utilize MCP to be able to, search our file system and find, say a file and edit it. And you can say, hey, write a blog post and do a file on, and it'll be on your computer where you specify, and you give it access, and you say, edit, write into this file a blog post, edit that blog post, change this paragraph to this, do whatever, create an image, add that in, da 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 da. You'll be able to interact with your files that way. Databases, same thing. Tell me in the fourth quarter, blah, 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 blah. And it's able to pull back information and even update all the times in the database where it says something like red and make it blue, whatever, right? Because you change your colors. That's oversimplified examples, but you can kind of get a drift of what we're talking about. So essentially, it's able to connect out to other tools, databases, files, etc. And that's what we're gonna get out of that. And it's very important. I know it's technical, but it is a huge step forward for us being able to have tools, models that are not only can answer our questions, like I said, and generate images and these type of things, but are also able to do things for us on our behalf in the real world. And that's coming. All right, so another OpenAI announcement was they introduced some audio models for developers. Okay, right here. And why is that important? Well, right now we type a lot, but we don't have as many of these tools where we're talking to them. And honestly, voice is going to be incredibly important. It's so much easier for us to be able to say, hey, open the document on such and such, do such and such, change that to this, than have to sit and type it up. There's times where typing's great, and that's fine. But having that ability to have voice, so what they're doing is releasing tools that developers can use to create agents and other tools that we can then talk to and interact with. But not only that, they also have voice generation on the other side. So they're talking to us. So we're having a conversation. So they actually put up a page. It's openai.fm where we can get an example of this. So let's take Alloy and its Santa voice, and let's listen to what this sounds like. This is generated.
Oh, Merry Christmas. You've reached Santa's workshop. How can I help you today? For toy request.
Okay, so that's one. But let's go emo teenager vibe.
Hey. Welcome to the bank, I guess. If you actually need something, listen up or donate. Whatever.
Let's try choral. And let's try patient teacher.
Today, we're going to paint a simple landscape. Get comfortable, grab your brushes, and let's begin. Start with a medium-sized brush, dipping it into pale blue paint.
You get the idea. So these voices, there's going to be endless amounts of different voices that we can use and interact with, which is going to be awesome because it'll allow us to have conversations back and forth with these models, and then add in MCP, and we are talking and we're saying, go out and do this, take care of that, remind me to do this, place a grocery order for include what I ordered last time, whatever it is. And they're going to come back and say, okay, I've taken care of that, da da da. Do you need anything else? Yeah, I do. Send a text to my daughter and tell her that I need her to be here by 5 because we have to leave by 5:30. Boom, does that. Okay, that text been sent. And that's the way that we'll have interaction. We'll be able to do that hands-free in the car. We'll be able to do that around the house and everywhere else. So it's another big improvement that will be coming. And then you're going to see a lot more voice, not only us being able to use our voice, but also models being able to talk back to us. All right, let's get on to the last bit of news, but very important news. AI, there was an AI model that was trained that is able to detect cancer at a 99% rate, at 99% of the time. And if we look, it is called ECG-MLP is the name of the model. And it basically takes imaging data, and it's able to look at imaging data. And it's not only endometrial cancer, it was 99%, but guess what? They've been able to use that model also to go down and right here for colorectal cancer, breast cancer at 98.5%, breast cancer 98.2%, and oral cancer at 97.34%. Right here it says the current systems are about 80% accurate. This is a 20 plus percentage point increase in detecting of cancer. That's going to save thousands and thousands, if not millions of lives by being able to detect cancer. And these are the type of things that are really exciting, is when we get these models out into the medical field and these type of areas to be able to make a massive difference with almost 100% accuracy we're pushing up on. So that we're going to see more of that. I will in the weeks to come and months to come as I do this show. I love these type of things. I'll include plenty of other than just the models themselves and updates like that. Plenty of other news about AI, where it's impacting our world and what we can expect from that. Last thing I'm going to just share with you is this. We are seeing models changing so fast, and they're so close together that honestly, what model you use is becoming less and less important, except for in specific cases. For instance, the image generation right now is considerably better, like I said, I feel in ChatGPT-4.0. But otherwise, if you're just using the models on a regular basis the way most people do, it really doesn't matter what model you use. They're so good. And we're going to see that. I think we're quickly approaching a point where the differentiation between models has basically been to a point where it's so razor thin that it doesn't really push the needle. And what it's going to be now is products and tools that are built around them, and agents, for instance, and built around them that allow us to do things that differentiate why we go to a specific provider of models, okay, rather than the models themselves. And we are seeing that happen in real time before us with Gemini 2.5 Pro releasing, ChatGPT-4.0 releasing. By the way, DeepSeek, I didn't even cover that, V1 or V3 released. And these models are so close one to another that for the average use, they're really no different. They're really no different. Now, there's certain things like image creation, like I said, where they differentiate. Maybe coding still has some areas where model is better than another, but for the average user, there's really not any difference. So don't get all caught up on, a specific model, or if I'm not using this or I should use this. Just use it, integrate it. It's more important that you're using it and learning how to integrate it into your life than it is worrying about if I'm on the latest model and the greatest model and all these type of things. All right, so that's this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back next week to do another recap, and I'll look forward to seeing you then.
Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future updates. Stay ahead with AI Adaptive, where our motto is AI Simplified. Learn, adapt, and thrive. See you next time.